Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. Okay, so here's some news from the world of sports. And before you say, Jonasz, you don't know a thing about sports, which is mostly true, by the way, please bear with me. So here is the story so far. Ukrainian skeleton racer Vladyslav Heraskevych appeared at the official training session for the 2026 Winter Olympics wearing a helmet that could hardly be called mere equipment. It was a memorial helmet, you see, the work of artist Irina Prots, featuring photographs of Ukrainian athletes killed by Russia during the war. But in the Olympic world, as it turns out, memory is a closely regulated thing. After the athlete appeared in a helmet with portraits of the deceased, the IOC collectively started shifting uncomfortably in their seats. You see, it just doesn't do when someone breaks the main unspoken rule, mainly not to remind people that there is a war going on outside the games and festivities. And so, lo and behold, the International Olympic Committee banned Heraskevych from competing in this helmet and even from training in it. According to the athlete, this decision is heartbreaking, and we totally get this, especially since the story doesn't quite end there. You see, the irony of the situation is that just the day before, an Italian snowboarder had competed wearing a helmet with the Russian flag on it, and there was no reaction from the IOC. Apparently, the flag of an aggressor state is above politics, but the faces of murdered athletes are not. I don't know about you, but doesn't that sound like another instance of textbook hypocrisy?
Дуже сумне продовження історії з нашим шоломом. Представник МОК Тошіо Цурунага, який відповідає за комунікацію між спортсменами та ноками і МОК, висловив критичну заборону використання даного шолому на змаганнях та на офіційних тренуваннях. Зважаючи на факт того, що вчора італійський сноубордист виступав з російським прапором на шоломі, що є прямо в правилах прописано, що це заборонено в МОК, на це не було жодної реакції, а на шолом з загиблими українськими спортсменами, і, до речі, серед них є олімпійці, члени олімпійської родини, на це ми отримали критичну заборону.
In the end, the IOC came up with a classic bureaucratic solution. Wearing helmets with portraits is prohibited, but black armbands are allowed. This was announced by a representative of the committee during a press conference.
We received that formal letter, formal request this morning to be able to wear that helmet in competition. What I'd say more generally, I'll get onto the specifics in a minute, what I'd say more generally is we have addressed from the beginning the situation of Ukrainian sports, Ukrainian athletes since the Russian invasion. And the IOC fully understands the desire of athletes to remember friends, colleagues who've lost their lives in that conflict, and, by the way, in many, many other conflicts, many other difficult conflicts around the world. As we say, there are probably 20 to 30 different conflicts going on at any one time. We have to concentrate on the athletes' performance and sport on the field of play. And it's fundamental that there are equal rights for all athletes, and that the games need to be separated, not just from political and religious, but from all types of interference, call it interference, and so that all the athletes competing can concentrate on their performance. In this case, as we do now more often, make an exception to the guidelines to allow him to wear a black armband during competition.
In other words, remembrance is acceptable, but without any faces. Mourning is acceptable, but without specifics. You can be seen expressing some general sadness, but you can never ever make others uncomfortable with details and images of war, no matter how factual, because after all, you don't want the Russian military squirming in their seats as they come face to face with their atrocities while trying to enjoy some good old sports. The black armband, of course, does not interfere with the competition. It does not force you to ask questions. It does not irritate. It does not remind you who exactly died and why. Heraskevych took to the track not only as an athlete, but as the voice of those whom Russia deprived of future competitions, medals, and the Olympics themselves. Speaking of which, according to the New York Times, there is talk of reintegrating Russian athletes into global sports. You heard that right. International sports federations are really thinking it's high time for the aggressor state's athletes to make a full comeback, national colors and all. For now, they are able to appear only under a neutral flag, but perhaps not for long. Meaning what? Do we just let bygones be bygones? Do you really want me to do a full list of the bygones in question? Because that's over 150,000 investigated cases of war crimes. That's quite the long list. So, given all that, how about we continue to keep the Russians excluded? How about we maintain the high ground instead with a clean moral slate, rather than allow ex-Russian army athletes to return with their flags, essentially laughing in the faces of their victims? Russian citizens suddenly discovered that sovereign internet is not a metaphor after all, but a real-life scenario in which YouTube no longer works, Telegram barely functions, and authorities are doing their version of the dog in a room on fire meme. You know which one that is. This is fine. Yeah, according to the Russian media, YouTube's domain has disappeared from some of RuNet's DNS servers, seizing all access to the site. Imagine that. Telegram isn't faring much better. Connection speeds have dropped to a crawl, and users are being prepared for the messenger to soon become another reminder of the past, like free elections or independent courts. Now, officially, Russian authorities deny everything. Of course they do. They say there are no plans to block anything, just technical difficulties. Very convenient. When the service doesn't work, it's an accident. But when it works poorly, it's geopolitics. State Duma Deputy Andrei Gurulyov explained the situation candidly. According to him, the slowdown of Telegram and YouTube is a fight against NATO, and Russians must suffer. Yeah, the logic here is flawless. If you can't defeat NATO on the battlefield, defeat it in your DNS settings. That will keep the very real threat of NATO-affiliated gaming channels, music videos, and footage of random silly cats banned from Russia's borders. A strategic victory for the ages.
Наверное, защита информации – это одна из составных частей борьбы между нами и странами НАТО. Поэтому здесь по-другому у нас, наверное, не получится. Я понимаю, что многим это доставляет неудобства. В том числе и мне, потому что у меня есть свой телеграм-канал, который люди читают. Но тем не менее, есть веление времени, есть те угрозы, которые исходят по защите информации. Наверное, на них надо реагировать.
Перейдете в Макс, или вы в Максе есть?
Я в Максе уже есть. У меня канал есть в Максе, и, в принципе, всю свою рабочую переписку я сегодня уже веду в Максе.
Для вас это не страшно?
Для меня это не страшно.
As always, Russians are being asked to endure. No videos, no messengers, no information. Instead, this is supposed to help people get involved in the great struggle. After all, what could be more patriotic than refreshing Telegram every 15 minutes or staring at a black screen instead of YouTube? In fact, Russia is urgently rolling out an internet where only approved websites, approved opinions, and approved buffering speeds are allowed. And the speed is slow, very slow. Slow enough to give you time to think about what fresh hell awaits us today. Although, to be fair, internet speeds aren't nearly as slow as Russia's military progress or lack thereof in the Donbass. Speaking of which, did you know that if I were Russian, this joke could land me in jail? Because even if most online services in Russia are crawling at a snail's pace, the online state surveillance system works just fine. Thank you very much. And with this, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news, updates, and commentary.